taking a hike in the woods with my family, and I hate hiking in the woods. I mean, it's nice for about 10 minutes, and then I get very bored. It's one tree, and then another tree, and then another tree. I prefer walking in the city. I like to look at bookstores. I like to look at cafes. I like to window shop. So I was bored in the woods, and I'm thinking, I'm bored. And I saw like a 6-year-old boy walking on a path near me. And all of fiction writing is asking, what if? I constantly ask, what if? So what if this little boy had just come out of the woods and he swore he never knew any other life but living in the woods? He doesn't remember parents. He doesn't remember anything else. He's always been on his own. He broke into cabins to get food, or he get food from the land, but he made his way by himself all of these years. And what if 30 years pass and we never find out how this boy ended up in the woods? Now he's a grown man. Wow, that would be, I think, a really interesting character to start with. What would he be like? And then, as the story opens, someone else goes missing in the woods, and it's Wilde's job to go find them. So that was the first lead character that I came up with for The Boy from the Woods.
D'accord, vous avez démarré avec ce personnage, eh bien, donc celle qui va un petit peu, comment dire, tisser le lien entre tous les personnages, c'est Esther, qu'on connaît, qu'on a déjà vue. Alors elle a plus de 70 ans, hein, c'est une septuagénaire. Alors on imagine, en plus elle fait 1,55 m, elle est toute petite alors que vous êtes un géant. On se demande, mais voilà, qu'est-ce que c'est que ce petit bout de mamie là, extrêmement tonique, et en plus elle continue, donc elle était avocate pénaliste, et elle continue d'animer un show télé extrêmement mordant. Enfin, on la sent vraiment batailleuse. Voilà. Et pourquoi ce personnage qui revient perpétuellement, d'où vient-elle d'abord, et pourquoi est-ce qu'elle vous obsède autant?
I think I first wrote Hester as a small character in a book probably 25 years ago, probably close to 25 years ago. And then Guillaume Canet used her on the screen, played brilliantly by Natalie Baye. That was 24 years ago, 14 years ago. Wow. 14 years ago when Natalie Baye played the role in Tell No One, the French film. And this character has always had a small part in a lot of books. Whenever my characters need a feisty, funny, interesting lawyer, it's Hester Crimstein. And she always steals the scene, which is a lot of fun for me. So I wanted one time to let you know all about her. I said, what about making Hester one time, give her her own story and combine her with this character, Wilde, the boy from the woods, and what an interesting team they would make. I've done Myron and Wynne as a team, and now we have sort of Wilde and Hester as a team. They share a common tragedy. And I thought that would be a really interesting way to show you more about Hester, who many of you have read about as a little part for many years. Now she gets to come to the front of the stage. The other thing I wanted to do was give her a romance. She's 70 years old, as you pointed out. And I love the idea of giving a romance to somebody that age, because you'll always be 17 inside yourself, right? You're always 17 waiting for your life to begin. That doesn't change. So that emotion and that feeling, I really wanted to give Hester the chance to experience that with all of us.
Alors, vous la situez, cette Esther et cette intrigue, j'ai envie de dire toujours dans le New Jersey, où vous habitez. Est-ce que, moi, je me pose toujours la question, finalement, est-ce que c'est par confort, ou est-ce que c'est le lieu que vous connaissez évidemment comme votre poche, ou est-ce qu'au contraire, le New Jersey que vous dépeignez, c'est un petit peu partout?
It's a little bit of both. I know New Jersey. This is where I live. So the research is easier, and I know the area well, I know the emotion. But what I've learned as a writer is the more specific you are, the more universal the appeal. So if I were to try to write a novel and say, ooh, you know, I have readers in France or I have readers in Bulgaria. I better do it so they relate to that. It doesn't work. The more specific I am about where I am in the books, the more universal for a novel, the more universal the appeal. So that's why I usually, not always, I usually set them here in New Jersey. I had one book, Long Lost, where I actually set a lot of it in Paris because I happen to be visiting there a lot.
Mm.
But when I write about Paris, for example, I write about it as an outsider. I'm never going to know Paris the way someone who lives there does. And if I try to fake that, it won't work. But it's sometimes interesting, the same way American Democracy, Tocqueville, the French writer, was the best at looking at our democracy. Sometimes it's fun to have an outsider look at your city.
Et alors, moi, j'ai envie de poser la question que peut-être vous posent vos voisins dans le New Jersey. Et comment est-ce qu'ils vivent ça, eux, d'avoir comme ça un auteur avec une renommée absolument internationale? Je veux dire, vous êtes une chambre d'écho fabuleuse et vous donnez une image du New Jersey, mais c'est pire que l'Afrique du Sud. Enfin, il y a quand même des jeunes qui disparaissent perpétuellement. C'est si mal famé que ça. Et est-ce que vos voisins vous en veulent?
No, my neighbors don't care that I'm famous, and my neighbors don't care. They know the novels are fiction. I think most of them get a kick out of seeing streets or buildings or places that they know well. But no one ever really in my neighborhood or this area treats me any differently, I don't think, because I happen to write books. In France, I get treated better, but here in my neighborhood, no, I don't get treated any better. That's why I love to go to France, I guess, so much, because here I'm just dad to 4 kids and Dan's husband. They don't really care about the rest of it.
Alors, dans ce livre, il est aussi question de l'enfance. Vous traitez du monde adolescent. Les héros dont il s'agit, donc on peut raconter finalement Mamie Esther, qui s'appelle Mamita. Elle a un petit-fils qui est le fils de son propre fils, David, qui a disparu. C'est des gosses, ils ont 16 ans, ils vont à l'école. Et puis, voilà, vous dépeignez finalement un monde adolescent. Vous êtes réaliste, un peu cruel. Vous les dépeignez parfois comme un peu dépressifs, un peu le côté m'as-tu vu, enfin tout ce qu'on essaye d'affirmer ou pas à l'adolescence. Qu'est-ce qui vous fascine particulièrement dans cet âge?
Well, all ages fascinate me, I guess. I mean, Hester's in her 70s, Wilde is in his 30s, and Matthew is in his teens. So I'm covering all of the bases. Um, you know, I think high school and that age is tough for everybody. I look at adolescence, to me, is a war that we all fight, and none of us come out unscathed. We all get knocked around. The most popular kid or the least popular kid. And that's a time period in our lives where our emotions are raised to the 10th power. We all get it, right? I can ask you about something that happened last month, you probably won't remember. But if I ask you about a dance when you were 16, or the first boy you liked when you were 17, whatever it is, those moments become very rich and emotional. And we look back on it with both fondness and regret. That's just the human condition. So it's fun to write about. I mean, I think it's an interesting time period to explore.
Alors agréable, pas pour tout le monde. Il y a Naomi, la petite Naomi, donc qui est un personnage au départ assez sympathique. En classe, tout va bien et puis vous racontez finalement, il y a un point de bascule, assez bizarre. Alors un jour, elle vomit en classe, voilà, elle en a plein les cheveux, bon, bah, ça peut arriver. Mais en revanche, pour elle, ça bascule complètement, dans une autre dimension. Elle devient le souffre-douleur, elle devient la bête noire de ses camarades. Et vous évoquez, voilà, brièvement, c'est un archétype, hein, on va dire, elle n'est pas toute seule. Voilà, comment est-ce que vous expliquez que ces adolescents deviennent comme ça, ou même des enfants deviennent la tête de turc des autres?
Well, I don't think it's teenagers. I think it's everybody, especially right now in this era where our politicians are calling people names like their children. I've never seen anything like it in my lifetime. Not to be political, but calling people baby nicknames like we're on a playground again. That's one of the things that struck me, and one of the reasons I wanted to write this book. That sort of behavior, it's just atrocious. But again, it's what your memories are, right? We all remember there was that kid in our high school. Maybe some of you were that kid, but there was that kid in your high school that you wondered, how did they even get up in the morning? How did they face the day every day, putting up with that sort of abuse? Why didn't I step in? Why didn't I do more at the time? And so my job as a writer is to make you feel those things again, both in a way that's going to be empathetic and sympathetic. So that's really what storytelling is all about. You get Naomi, you understand what she's experiencing. Because again, we've all been on both sides, but we all remember that kid in our school and wonder, how did they make it through the day?
Et alors son copain, de classe finalement, Matthew, le petit-fils d'Esther, sont pas des amis très proches et voilà, vous décrivez finalement une relation, l'amitié qui est, assez surprenante parce que, finalement c'est lui qui s'empare, de cette disparition alors qu'on a l'impression au départ que les adultes, bah, s'en fichent absolument. Comment est-ce que vous expliquez voilà que ce gamin, ce camarade de classe, est-ce qu'il a l'instinct, comme son créateur, d'aller chercher, d'aller gratter ou,
Well, I don't want to give too much away from the book, but everybody in the book has secrets. That's what I write about. If you've read me, you know that. I like secrets. I like twists. I like turns. I like to fool you. You can criticize me for doing too many twists. It's fair. I can see that. So what you think about Matthew in the beginning of the book is going to change. What you think about
Mmh.
Wilde, what you think about Hester, what you think about all of the characters. I hope I'm taking you on a journey that's going to change what you feel about all of them. And I haven't said this in a very long time, but I do plan on writing a sequel. There will be another Wild Hester book. I'm working on it now, as a matter of fact. Um, that doesn't happen very often, where I feel as though I still have more to tell about these characters. Usually, when I finish Tell No One, for example, Dr. Beck, who was played by Francois Cluzet in the movie, his story was over. What happened with his wife, we know. No, what's he going to do in another book? Just be something to sell you. It wouldn't be a new story. So it's rare that I finish a book and I say, you know what? I got more stories to tell with these people. I've done it with Myron and Wynne, of course, and now I will do it with Wilde and Hester.
Ah, vous en avez trop dit maintenant. Qu'est-ce qui vous a, incité, enfin qu'est-ce qui qu'est-ce qui vous a piqué comme ça? Racontez un peu.
Well, especially Wilde. Wilde here is solving a case. He doesn't necessarily solve his own life mysteries. He's solving what happened to Naomi when another child disappears. He solves that. So everything is solved. The whole case is solved. But Wilde himself isn't really fully solved. And so I wanted to write another book that will really deal more with how Wilde ended up in those woods. It just was a question. I knew from the beginning what happened to him while he was in those woods, but it didn't really fit into this particular story for him to go exploring it. He's not really all that interested, but in the beginning of the next book, he'll meet up with a parent right in the first page. So it was just that calling out for me. And I didn't really want to write Wilde without having Hester back. So we'll find out, Hester has a romance going on in this book. We'll see how she's doing with that in the next one.
Oui, c'est beau parce qu'Esther, elle est veuve quand même. Elle est, voilà, au début, on est, Oui, elle a un crush, mais voilà, l'honneur est sauf, hein, heureusement. Alors il est quand même question de famille aussi, toujours, hein, dans vos romans, de près, de loin, enfin, mais toujours dans ce cercle-là. Vous-même, voilà, vous parlez souvent de vos enfants, je crois qu'ils sont pas trop vos lecteurs. Enfin, la dernière fois qu'on avait discuté, mais ils étaient peut-être un peu plus jeunes. Pourquoi c'est si important pour vous, en tant que romancier, la famille et comme sujet?
Well, first of all of them read them now. All of them have read Boy from the Woods. All of them have read the next book, which will be out, called Win, which is a book about Win, the character Win from Myron and Win books. Um, and my oldest daughter, in fact, writes the TV shows with me. She wrote episode 5 of The Stranger, and she's working on the next one that we're doing. So it's a different world now from when I think last we spoke. They're all more or less grown. So in that case, yeah. The reason I write about family so much, and not all the time. I mean, Myron's single. Beck and Tell No One had no children or a family. So a lot of times I don't. We're making right now my newest show in France will be a Netflix French show starring Finnegan Oldfield and Guillaume Giraud and Nicolas Duchoulet, a whole bunch of your best people. We're filming right now in Nice, Gone for Good, and that guy's also single without a family. So, but the whole idea of family is that you get it and I get it. If I ask you, would you ever kill somebody? The answer is no. Would you ever kill somebody to save your child? Now the answer is yes. So where is that line? How close can I get you to that gray line? You care about family like you care about nothing else. And if you care, that's half the secret of writing a novel.
Mmh. Alors, le cinéma, vous avez fait effectivement bon accueil. La série, les séries télé, on a eu, voilà, vous êtes archi présent, sur les écrans. Alors, beaucoup en France, il y a eu un petit peu d'Angleterre, maintenant c'est Netflix. Racontez-nous un peu comment naissent, ces projets. Ça vous intéresse particulièrement? C'est un autre univers?
It's a totally different universe. I really enjoy it. I love it. I was worried when I first got involved in it that it would take time away from writing the books, but actually they feed each other. So I'm an introvert. Most of the time I sit in this room and I write. And then I start going crazy and I lose my mind. And so for a little while I go out of this room and I collaborate with other people. And in France, I mean, look at the people I've been able to work with: Guillaume Canet, Francois Cluzet, Alexandre Lamy, Virginie Le Dayan. I could just, you mentioned Natalie Baye, Andre Dussayet, Jean Rochefort. How lucky that I've been able to have that sort of, and I can keep naming names all day here, Pascal Elbé, everybody. I've been so lucky with who I've been able to work with, for example, in France. But then after I'm on the set for a little while, there's too many people around. So now I got to lock myself back in this room and get back to writing the book. So they kind of feed off each other in a nice way. I recently made a deal with Netflix because of their international power and reach, where we can make shows in various countries and get them translated so that everybody can see them. And I love that excitement. So we did The Woods in Poland. The next show will be The Innocent in Spain, starring Mario Casas. The one after that will be Gone for Good in French, which will be my 4th French production after Tell No One, No Second Chance, and Just One Look. We have one we're working on in America. I have another one that I'm working on with the UK team that did The Stranger, Safe in the Five. So it's been great. It's been a fun relationship, and I wouldn't have done it earlier in my career. It would have been too hard to do it when I was first starting out as a writer, because you can get lost in the TV world. If you're writing novels, I don't advise you to do it until you've been around for a while. But now I enjoy the fact that I can give you story in different ways.
Mais finalement, vous travaillez tout le temps. On a l'impression que vous n'arrêtez pas, hein?
I have nothing really else to do. I don't really have any hobbies. I golf a little bit, and I golf terribly. And now that winter's coming, there won't be any golf here. My kids now are grown, so I don't have to take care of them as much. It's really the dog. And we just got a second dog, so now it's 2 dogs. So hold on. Let's see. The puppy's downstairs, but this is Laszlo, my older dog, who sits right here while I work all the time. And I know Laszlo, people who follow me on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook have seen Laszlo a lot. Here she is in person, and she's getting along with her new sibling, Winslow. Win, we call the new dog. It just came in on Saturday. So Laszlo's getting used to the new dog, but doing well. All right, you can go back down now.
Alors comment, vous êtes chez vous, dans le New Jersey? Comment ça se passe? On a envie de savoir, je crois que tout le monde est un petit
Yes.
peu confiné. Voilà, comment est-ce que ça se passe pour vous, personnellement? Est-ce que, vous sortez? Voilà.
The only time I actually have gone out really is golfing, keeping at social distance, and doing things like that. I don't really go out very much. We are on lockdown and we're taking it very, very seriously. We mask when we go out any place. For me, it's not quite as hard as it is for other people. I worry a lot about the people my kids' age who are in college and things like that, or just starting out their life. But for me, I'm a writer. Being isolated is what I do all day. It's not, so the difference for me is not as hard, I think, as it is for other people. I can still do my work. I finished a book while I'm doing this. I still read the scripts. I miss going on set. Like if it was a normal time period, I would be in Nice on the set of the Gone for Good, the show that we're making right now in France, but that's okay. So for me personally, it's not quite as hard. New Jersey was hit hard in the beginning. We seem to be doing better now. But I do urge people to take it seriously. You know, this is, my wife is a physician. We have a lot of friends who are in the New York hospitals who, when this first started, were really on the front lines of it. And it's, you know, it's not a joke.
Mmh. Et justement, à propos de cette pandémie, il y a, des auteurs, des romanciers en France pour qui ça a véritablement posé un problème, c'est-à-dire qu'ils sont, si vous voulez, comme vous, à s'isoler, à se couper du monde pour écrire des histoires. Et il y a ceux qui ont été extrêmement perturbés de devoir être isolés finalement comme tout le monde et qui n'ont pas pu écrire d'histoire. Est-ce que vous n'avez jamais, de rupture comme ça dans la création?
I've had some bad times over the last few months. When the pandemic first hit and we first shut down, which was March, it was tough to write at all for the first few weeks. Then I was writing pretty well, and then I was writing badly again. But frankly, that's how it always is with writing. There's always a time during the books or during the TV series where it just is not working well. People think it must come easy to me. I've written 30 something books. It must come easy. It never comes easy. I think if it comes easy, that's when you're becoming the author who is just phoning in the work, not doing their best work. I still hate myself and get insecure and all of those terrible things every time I'm writing. So while it's been different, I don't know how much my production has changed right now. I just do think it's easier in the sense that I don't need to be social. I don't need to go to bars or restaurants. I don't need to see friends other than Zoom. I Zoom with friends, I talk to friends, I communicate that way. Other people need that. They have to be with other people. And so it's harder for them, I know, to be getting through this. For me, that's not really much of an issue.
Mmh. Et en revanche, ce qui est peut-être, tout aussi compliqué comme période, voilà, c'est la transition avec les élections, présidentielles. J'imagine que vous avez suivi ça, d'extrêmement près. Qu'est-ce que ça vous a inspiré cette campagne?
Well, I'm glad it's over. That's another thing, to be frank. I think that the election was a tremendous distraction for everybody. It seemed to be going on forever. And every day there was a new news story. reality TV is what our politics have become all over the world. I miss the days when I was the one who gave you the twists and turns of entertainment, and politicians were boring. I want those days back, where not every day you wake up and you look at the news wondering what new crazy plot twist is going to occur. So I think that was a tremendous distraction for a lot of writers and a lot of people, just this election. The Boy from the Woods is probably my most political novel. Not necessarily right-wing or left-wing. I don't like to do that because I don't want you to read it with an agenda. But in terms of the extremes, in terms of the media and political manipulations, in terms of believing lies, in terms of delusions, the deception, the dumbness, all of that, I kind of wanted to find a way to explore, but via a thriller. This is still, my job is to keep you up at night. My job is to be your, whatever nickname you give me, guys, to keep you up turning pages all night. But this one probably has more of that kind of political feel than other books because it takes place in the current time period, and politics are bigger now than they've ever been in my lifetime, right? 10 years ago, we didn't wake up every day talking about the president of the United States or any other leader. You know, days we did, and we paid attention, but not like now. And so I had to reflect that in what I write, because I write what's going on in the current time period.
C'est vrai que c'est, en effet ce qui saute aux yeux tout de suite dès les premières pages parce que, dès qu'on passe, on va dire, l'introduction sur, l'enfant de la forêt, on arrive dans l'époque véritable de l'histoire et vous commencez par un débat de société. D'abord, eh ben, évidemment, on apprend que le petit Matthew est noir, qu'il est juif, enfin voilà des choses. Alors évidemment, ça arrive tous les jours, mais quand on le met dans un roman, quand on est un blanc en plein débat effectivement américain sur ces questions-là, que vous traitez d'ailleurs un peu d'un revers de la main, puisque vous dites qu'il y a des excusez-moi, mais il y a des cons partout. Est-ce que, voilà, est-ce que vous avez vraiment voulu, à la fois les évoquer et en même temps les éviter, ces sujets?
I don't want to talk about any particular politician or political party. I find extremism dangerous on both sides. I find anybody who is sure they have the answers and the answer is simple are dangerous. Always been. I mean, that's history. If you don't know that, you don't know history. I'm also always shocked, and there's a chapter in the book that describes how they work it, how easy it is to manipulate people nowadays. So when a scandal breaks out, and it's later on in the book, there's a scene where you see the person, the head politician planning, well, I'll have one group of bots argue this, I'll have one group of bots argue that, I'll have another group deny it all, I'll have another group accept it all, and it becomes so confusing that we start debating reality. It used to be that you and I could have a political discussion, and we could say, let's talk about tax cuts or tax rates, and we could have a logical discussion. We may disagree, but at least we're both debating in reality. Now it feels like we're two people standing on the top of a really tall building, and one person's grabbing your arm saying, there's no such thing as gravity. That's a lie. The media is telling you. There's no such thing. Come on, I'll pull you off. And you say, no. If you pull off, we're going to both plummet and die. I go, no, that's a lie. The media is telling you. You take a rock and you drop the rock. Say, see, there's gravity. Oh no, that's for a rock. That's not for people. And that's what the discussions have become like. The fact that we can't agree on this sort of unreality. And so this is alarming. This is new, I think. Maybe I was naive, but it's new. And so that's part of a little bit of what I want to explore. Again, a lot of this you won't even pick up in the book. My job is to do a fast-paced story about two missing teenagers and how it can actually affect the entire world. But that's sort of the subtext of what's going on in the world that I'm reflecting in The Boy from the Woods.
Et alors vous diriez que vous êtes plutôt, optimiste ou pessimiste avec ce monde et ces changements?
Who cares? Who cares? First of all, I'm always wrong. That's the one thing you have to remember. Like, you've all watched experts on TV, right? Like, we all watch those experts, they're always wrong. I mean, it's not their fault, but they're always wrong. No one predicted that a man in Tunisia would set himself on fire and there would be an Arab Spring. Nobody predicted that we would be staring at these things all day. Oh, there's a stranger on my home screen. No one predicted any of this. No one predicted Donald Trump would be our president. No one predicted Brexit. No one gets anything right. So there's no reason. It's one of the things that using humility, you have to understand that we're not going to get anything right. It's another problem with actual society today. Everybody thinks they're an expert on everything. I look on a Twitter feed and people who couldn't even graduate the easiest science class when they were 14, all of a sudden, they're experts in COVID and they know more than doctors. When did that come about? You know, so that's more how I would answer that question.
Tout à fait, on vit dans le même monde, c'est rassurant. Alors vous, vous racontez des histoires et vous le faites bien. Comment est-ce que vous définiriez votre style?
Oh God, I never know my style. I never know my genre. I know you put me, I'm thrilled to be in the world of Polar. I don't know if it's accurate. Tell No One, for example, is really a love story. What makes the engine run on that story is, will Francois Cluzet find Marie-Jo Cross and will they live happily after ever? That's really what that's about, a man who can't get over the death of his wife more than it is murders and deaths and whatever. So I'm the worst person to try to describe it. But what I do want to do is I want to keep the pages turning. I want to grip you. I want you to be deeply moved. And I don't want you to be able to put the book, or if you're watching one of the TV shows, I don't want you to be able to stop after episode 1 and not click for episode 2. So I always want to make my stories to be gripping and compelling and thrilling. And the way you do that is two things. You have to have a really compelling story, and you have to have characters people care about. I mean, that's simple, but that's really what it comes down to. Other than that, I don't know what my style is. I prefer when you journalists figure out what my style is. I'll just write the book so you guys can figure out how to place them.
Ben oui, on vous place effectivement. Bah oui, mais il y a toujours des twists, des rebondissements et effectivement des personnages extrêmement forts. Et je me demande, justement, est-ce que, quand vous je sais pas combien de temps vous mettez, par exemple, pour écrire un tel livre, comment, est-ce qu'on peut abandonner ensuite ces personnages? Ou est-ce qu'ils viennent comme ça, un petit peu, bah, comme Esther, vous hanter finalement, même encore 25 ans plus tard?
I don't know if they haunt me. Usually it's about 9 months to write a book. I write a book a year pretty much. Take about 9 months to a year to write one. And once I finish it, I try as much as I can to get it out of my head. Different with Myron Bolitar, because I've written 11 Myron Bolitar books, and to me, they're each a chapter in a longer novel. So that's slightly different. But, for example, David Beck and Tell No One, I haven't thought about him in years. And one of the interesting things about working with these Netflix shows is I had to go back, of course, and reread Gone for Good, which I wrote, I think came out in your country in 2003 or 2004. I had to go back and read The Innocent, which is the one we're doing in Spain, which I hadn't read since the book came out in 2004 or 5. And I don't remember a lot of it while I'm reading it. I'm sometimes wondering, what's this character doing here? I wonder about that decision. I still want to make changes and do things, but I think part of it is that I have to get it out so I can get on with my next world and my next story. So I don't want that world necessarily interfering. Sometimes there'll be a character, though, that would have been in a book 8 or 10 years ago, who all of a sudden is still in my mind and will come back in another book. The best example, as you mentioned, being Hester Krimstein, who always had a small part in a lot of the books. And now finally gets to be the main character in The Boy from the Woods.
Mmh. Et vous parlez, donc vous reparlez des séries et de cinéma et vous avez un rôle de qu'est-ce que vous faites? En fait, vous êtes showrunner? Enfin, à l'époque, moi, je vous avais vu au Stade de France, vous étiez, showrunner de la série, de Galonde, et comment voilà, quelle partie du gâteau, j'ai envie de dire, vous appropriez-vous sur, les adaptations?
Uh, well, first of all, let me just first of all mention, even though it's not on topic, that I really wish I was in Lyon with all of you now. I've been to this festival, I think twice before, and it's always so much fun. So I miss all of you in person too. It's always a wonderful time. So I'm hoping next year we can all see each other again. In terms of Netflix and the shows, each show is different. My role is different on each show. On the English language ones, I am what they call the showrunner and the creator, so I do a lot with them. On this particular French show, I did not do as much. I help with rewrites on the script. I'm still executive producer. I still have the final say in most things, but they've done a really good job. The people who are working there from Netflix France, and Juan Carlos Medina, who's our director, is doing a great job. Every day, they send me what they filmed the day before, and I watch it and I'll comment if there's an issue. But for the most part, other than suggesting some rewrites on the scripts that I didn't, I had problems with, my role hasn't been all of that big on that particular show. So it really depends on the show, how I can fit in, how much work I think they need from me, and how much I can contribute.
Et alors, finalement, quand vous découvrez à la fin, la recréation à partir de votre œuvre, il vous appartient toujours ou c'est complètement autre chose et vous êtes, heureux et surpris de la découverte?
I think I'm unusual in this. I don't like adaptations that are slavishly devoted to the text. I clearly am willing to make changes. Tell No One did not take place in Paris. Guillaume Canet's character did not run across the Périphérique in my book. He ran down Washington Square Park in New York City. Did I mind that change? No. Did I like that change? Yes. I think it brought another life to the book. In Tell No One, another example quickly to give you, the character, we had a character who was in America we call a plus size model, which you really didn't have in France. So Guillaume came up with the idea of making her a restaurateur, and now Kristen Scott Thomas could play that. He says, "Is that okay with you?" I'm like, "That's great. That's a change that makes sense." So a book is a book, and a TV series or a movie is a TV series and a movie. They're very different mediums. I can get into a character's head in a book. I have to show it to you on the screen. They're very different. And in fact, I think the biggest difference we ever made was in No Second Chance with Alexandra Lamy. That character I wrote was a man. We changed the character from male to female, and it worked. So I like when I do a TV series or a movie to make changes. I love the hybrid of doing it in another country. If I wanted you to have the exact experience of reading the book, I would tell you to just read the book. So that's how I've always looked at adaptations. And so I really have fun with the collaborating aspect of it.
Il nous très plaisir de voir les films ou les séries après vous avoir lu aussi, ça tombe bien. Il y a quelques questions de lectrices. Alors, je ne sais pas très bien comment techniquement ça va se passer, mais il me semble que nous avons avec nous, pas très loin, Nathalie Darche qui va vous poser une question. Voilà, je ne sais pas. Voilà, Nathalie.
Good evening, Harlan. Hi, Harlan. You talked a bit about France, and France loves you, and I think you love France as well.
I'm not
What
hearing
about-
this, just so we know. I'm not hearing Natalie or an English translation, just so you know.
Ah, je peux parler en français, si c'est plus facile.
Oh, hold on. So what do I got to do? Unmute original? Okay, go ahead, try that. Go ahead, Natalie. Try
In
again.
English?
I got you. Okay, go ahead, Natalie.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So you said you come very often to France, and I think France readers definitely love you, even if I'm a Belgian reader myself. And we met in Brussels some years ago.
Yes, I remember.
Oh, thank you for remembering. Yeah. That's very nice. What about maybe a story of Myron and Wynne in Europe or in Paris or in Brussels? I could be your guide in Brussels, by the way.
Well, I did in Long Lost. Myron and Wynne go to Paris and then London for a brief period of time. So I've done it a little bit. I may do it again. It all depends. I never want to force anything. There's times I'll say, "Oh, you know, I want my book to have this in it, but it won't fit." It's like sometimes it'll even be like a very funny line. I'm going, "Oh, I can't wait for Myron to say this line to Wynne." But there's no place in the book for it, and it ends up sticking out. So it's always has to be something that's organic. But that said, I really do hope to do that. The best example I can give you is for years, I said, I'm never going to write a book just from Wynne's viewpoint. Everybody wanted a book about Wynne, not Myron. And for years I said, no, I just didn't have any interest in it. And then last year I came up with an idea. I'm like, oh my God, this is for Wynne. No Myron. This is for Wynne. And so, like my character says, man plans, God laughs. My favorite Yiddish expression. Man plans, God laughs.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Natalie. And I'll see you in Brussels soon, I hope.
I hope as well.
Alors très bien. Je ne sais pas si je la note. Les hommes planifient. Merci Nathalie. Alors il y a une autre question à présent. Alors soit Laetitia Liénard, soit Angèle Cueil. Mais je ne sais pas. Je laisse la technique basculer. Eh bien non.
Thank you all for coming, by the way. This is so nice to see so many people are here. It's really it's nice when I'm sitting at home to see all of your faces. So thank you.
Et alors, Quai du Polar, Harlan Coben aura lieu, vous le savez peut-être, au mois de juillet et pas au mois d'avril, parce que vous venez d'habitude au printemps. Et cette fois, ce sera au mois de juillet, donc pour des raisons évidemment de sanitaires. S'il fait beau, s'il n'y a plus de Covid, s'il y a un vaccin, est-ce que vous venez nous voir?
I hope so. I mean, I can't promise anything right now. There's a lot of places I owe visits to, so I hope, but I do hope so. France has been the country that I have visited the most outside of the United States. I'm usually there this time of the year. Last year, right around now, I was there. I was in Paris at the Olympia Theater, and then I went to Colmar, and then I went to, oh God, all over the country. We had such a great time. So I do hope to, but I don't know my schedule. And I don't decide half the time. Somebody else tells me where I'm going.
Ah, alors, on vous écoute, mademoiselle.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Voilà, je voulais vous demander, donc je suis une très grande fan aussi. J'habite en Belgique également, comme Nathalie. Et je voulais vous demander si vous envisagez de refaire une série avec Myron et Wynne ensemble, et si c'est envisageable sur Netflix.
Yeah, I'm working on trying to get a Myron and Wynne series together. I'll admit it's harder though. To find people who will match what Myron and Wynne look like, or I can make a change, because as I said before, I don't care if it's the same as the book. I just want it to be really good. For Myron and Wynne is harder than it is, I think, for the standalones. But that said, I'm trying. I don't know if it'll be Netflix. I don't know who it will be with. But I've tried before and it hasn't worked out. So we'll see. I wish I can give you a better answer than that. But I'm glad you're interested in it.
Ah oui, je suis super intéressée, il n'y a pas de problème. Je lirai de toute façon tous vos livres.
Thank you. Thank you.
Eh bien, merci. C'était Laetitia Liénard, si je ne dis pas de bêtises. Et nous avons une troisième question d'Angèle. Angèle, je ne sais pas si elle est aussi en Belgique. Angèle, bonsoir.
Alors, non, moi je suis également très fan, mais en France par contre. Il fallait quand même une Française, je pense, dans ces questions. Et je voulais savoir quel était votre personnage et ou livre préféré et pourquoi, sachant que bon, moi je les aime tous, donc ça ne doit pas être facile pour vous de répondre.
I always say the books are like my children. I can't choose between them and they all drive me crazy. So it's hard for me to pick a favorite book. I usually pick the one that's the most current because the one that's, the way I explain it is, did you ever write a paper when you were younger, maybe in high school or college, and you think it's great, and then you find it now and you read it and you hate it? That's how it sometimes is with old books, where I can see all the problems with them. So it's usually something very, very current. That's, Myron's always been special to me. I can't pick one of the Myron books. Tell No One, which was my first New York Times and worldwide bestseller, first book that France published, always will have a lot of meaning to me too. But I can't really decide. The only thing I can tell you is there's no book other than my first two, which I mentioned in the beginning, I tell them, that I don't like. I mean, I'm not ashamed of any of them. I don't say, I wish I didn't publish that one. I'm proud of them all. And so start with, I'm more, what's your favorite? I don't really, who cares what my favorite is? What's your favorite? That's more important to me.
C'était une question qui est hyper difficile, je pense, pour toutes les personnes qui sont fans de vous, mais je pense que ça va être assez classique, mais c'est ne le dit à personne, puisque moi, c'est mon grand-père qui m'a fait connaître vos livres, il les lisait tous, et c'est le premier qui m'a donné, donc voilà, je garderai celui-là.
I love those stories. I love the family stories, thank you. So you shared a book with your grandfather, that's beautiful, thank you.
Merci à vous.
C'est superbe. Écoutez, merci Angèle et bravo Harlan Coben, puisque vous avez une belle famille, hein, puisque c'est comme vos enfants, vos livres. Voilà, vous avez une belle famille nombreuse, magnifique. Merci de nous avoir consacré cette heure et on espère vraiment vous voir. On va trouver un moyen de vous faire venir, on va vous appâter à Lyon, on l'espère, au beau jour. Voilà, merci infiniment. Et donc, je remontre, puisqu'on a de l'image, je vous remontre. Voilà, vous pouvez aller en librairie, elles sont ouvertes. Enfin ouvertes, c'est chez Belfond, c'est le nouveau Harlan Coben, L'inconnu de la forêt, et ce n'est qu'un début, donc merci beaucoup Harlan Coben.
Thank you. Thanks everybody. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. Thank you.